She didn't return that night. No call, no text, only silence. I sat at the kitchen table, a glass of water turning stale in front of me, checking my phone every few minutes like a fool. Midnight faded into 2, and eventually I stopped pacing. I was too drained to feel angry, too tired to make another excuse for her. I kept repeating, maybe she got delayed. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she stayed at a friend's. But deep inside I knew better. She wasn't stranded. She had chosen not to come home. The morning itself had begun wrong. She was distant over breakfast, eyes glued to her phone. When I asked who she was texting, she smiled weakly and said, "Just Kelly from work." Kelly, the name she always used when she wanted me to stop asking questions. That evening, she left around 5:30 for a so-called team dinner, dressed in perfume she hadn't touched in years and a blouse I'd never seen before. I told her to be safe. She nodded like I was a roommate, not her husband. First I worried. Then I grew suspicious. By the end, I felt nothing but cold certainty. At 2:15 a.m., a car pulled up and I hoped it was her. It wasn't. The silence inside felt suffocating. I went to our room, stood by her empty side of the bed, and stared at the untouched pillow. The bed felt foreign without her in it. I didn't cry or yell. I just sat and admitted what I'd avoided for months. I was no longer the man she returned to. At 3 a.m., the front door creaked open. I was still on the couch, wearing the same clothes all day. She looked startled to see me awake, as if she thought she'd sneak in unnoticed. Her makeup was smeared, her voice too casual. "Morning. You're up early." I stayed silent. She couldn't meet my eyes. That was all the answer I needed. I didn't ask questions. I didn't care to hear more lies. I got up, walked past her, and packed a small duffel, clothes, charger, and the book I never finished. I scribbled a note on the back of a grocery receipt and left it beside her keys. "I'm leaving. Good luck with your team dinners." She didn't stop me. Not when I walked out, not later that day, not the next. And her silence told me everything I had refused to face until now. That first night away nearly crushed me. I checked into a cheap motel a few towns over. Nothing special, just a clean bed and a bathroom with no memories of her. I sat on the edge for hours, waiting for a buzz, a ping, something. But my phone stayed quiet. And while it hurt, it also made things clear. Silence is still an answer. Hers spoke louder than any apology. I kept replaying that moment. Her strolling in like nothing happened, hair messy, voice breezy. No guilt, no concern, just indifference. She looked like someone who'd already closed the chapter. Maybe she had, and I was only realizing it now. By the second day I turned my phone off. Whatever came through, fake regret or more silence, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want the sting. I started walking through unfamiliar streets, blending into crowds of strangers who didn't know me. No stares, no pity. I bought a cheap notebook and began writing truths I'd buried for years. Not just about her, about me. About how I'd clung to something already gone. This wasn't the first time she made me feel like a backup plan. It began subtly. Cancelled plans. Work trips that didn't add up. Our conversations growing shallow. But I brushed it aside, convincing myself she was stressed, tired, in a phase. Maybe she was, but she never let me in. Each time I reached out, she left me hanging. I stayed loyal to someone who had already left in spirit. One night, about 8 months before it all collapsed, we were in bed when she softly asked, "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if we'd never met?" I laughed it off as a random late-night thought. I told her I'd probably be lost. She didn't reply, just rolled over. That memory hit me now like a warning I'd ignored. That was her way of saying she was already drifting away. On the third day, an email appeared. Not a call, not even a text. Just a cold subject line. "Can we talk?" Inside. "I didn't think you'd actually go. We need to figure out what happens now." No warmth, no love, no apology. Just logistics. As if I were a roommate moving out early. I didn't reply. Not yet. What was left to say? That I finally respected myself enough to walk. That yes, it hurt, but I chose peace over lies. If she wanted closure, she'd have to find it elsewhere. My closure came the night I left without looking back. A week later I returned to the house. Not from longing, but to collect what was mine. I half expected the locks changed or someone else's shoes by the door. But it was silent, unnaturally so. Most of my things sat untouched, but the space felt different. Smaller, colder, like I had already outgrown it. She wasn't home and I was glad. I wasn't chasing explanations. I didn't need answers from someone who had already shown me the truth. Still, I moved slowly through each room, letting memories sting as I packed. Our wedding photo still smiled from the shelf, frozen in joy. Her smile had once been real. So had mine. But love isn't measured by how it begins. It's by how long it lasts. And ours hadn't. On the fridge, a note was taped hastily, 3 short lines. I didn't think you'd really go. Miss you. Can we try again? I stood staring, not because I was reconsidering, but because I finally understood. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself when I loved her. The comfort, the security of me always being there. But love isn't comfort alone. It's respect. And the night she laughed in my face and stayed out without a word, that respect vanished. I didn't take the note. I left it there. Let her sit with her words. Let her face the silence of a door that would never open again. That night, back in the motel, I slept deeply for the first time in ages. Not because I was healed, but because I had chosen myself. It's strange how pain softens once it's no longer tangled in confusion. I've realized since then that cheating isn't only with bodies. It happens with time, with priorities, with silence, with every little lie, every absence brushed aside. Betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet repetition of being made to feel invisible until you start to believe it. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I hope she finds what she chased that night. But I won't be there to see it. Because I meant every word I left on that note. I'm leaving. Good luck with your team dinners. And this time I wasn't pretending.